Hi, welcome to the next in a series of online tutorials about the local BMD project websites. I'm Ian Hartas. I'm author of the search software used in the various local BMD websites and also author of the UK BMD website itself. If you'd like to join me at my keyboard, we'll have a look at the next in the series. On the UK BMD website, I've clicked on the local BMD button on the left, and here we can see a list of links to the various local BMD websites. For this example tutorial, we're going to look at Lancashire BMD. As with all of the local BMD projects, the sites are all structured the same way. We have menus across the top, each with a drop-down section allowing you to pick one of the sections, see what's going on. Here we're going to look at the berths and do a search of the berths and see what we can find. At the top, as usual, there's sets of instructions, and I do recommend that you have a read of them to see what's going on. Basically they're just a reminder to say what to do and which buttons to press, but basically I hope you can see that it's just a straightforward form. And on this form I'm going to click 1838 and enter one of the more popular names, which usually produces good results. Not going to pick anything else, just going to click on display results now and see what comes out. On the right hand side, if I pick on the scroll bar, drag it quickly down to the bottom, we'll see here a count of 654 at the time of recording this tutorial. So there are 654 Smith names in the database for Lancashire BMD in the year 1838. Scrolling back quickly to the top, let's have a look at the various columns that we can see here. On the left hand side we have surname, and predictably it just says Smith. That's what we search for. Next column along, forename. The ones at the top with brackets around them are where the entry in the register doesn't have a name, it just mentions the gender, so it says it's either a boy or a girl, meaning that the child was a live birth and at the time of registration there was no name for the child, or the child died slightly soon after the birth and so wasn't given a name. If we continue scrolling down slightly, you'll then see names appearing in alphabetical order: Abraham, Abram, Adam, Agnes, Alfred, and so on. Back to the top again. Next column along is the sub-district. Each register office only holds their own data, so it's important to note which sub-district the entry is from, and as we see in the next column, which register office the registers are held at. So Bury North sub-district has its data held at the Bury Register Office, and it's important that when you apply for the copy certificate you apply to the right office. Next column along, mother's maiden name. If you looked at the General Register Office's indexes, you wouldn't see the mother's maiden name listed in the indexes until 1911. Some of the registrars have allowed the local BMD projects to publish the mother's maiden name in their indexes here, so where we've had the permission and had access to the registers, the mother's maiden name column will be completed. As you can see, there are a few which are blank in the indexes. If you were to buy a copy of the certificate, that mother's maiden name would be filled in. It's just not visible to us online currently. The last column is the reference number. These differ from the style of the reference numbers used by the General Register Office, so it's important to make a note of the reference number. I hope you can see from the screen here that this one is made up of three parts, beginning with BN, then there's a slash, then in the middle there's a 1, and then a slash, and then finally 71. BN will correspond to Bury North. The 1 in the middle means it's book 1, and then the 71 at the end could mean one of two things. Typically there are 500 entries in one of these registers. Some of the registrars have said to us, would we transcribe by entry number, and others have said transcribe by page number. So that 71 could either mean entry number 71 or page number 71. If it's by page number, then there will be 5 entries all with the same reference number. So if you do see multiple occurrences of the same reference number, it's not an error, it just means they're on the same page. Now you can see that this reference number is underlined, and in classic web parlance that means that this is a link. So if we click on the link, it adds it to a summary page. And if I were to go back to the searches, I could continue looking down this list, and if I wanted to, again add it to the summary page. And the summary page is so acting like a little notepad for me, remembering all the entries that I'm interested in. And we'll come back to this in a while, because it's from this summary page that you begin the ordering process. So if I return to the searches and then click the browser's back button, I'm now going to make use of the region search options to fine-tune this list. As we saw, there were over 600 entries in there. Now you're quite welcome to peruse those entries at your leisure, but if you want to hone in on a particular entry number for a particular area, you can pick a region if you wish. Now before I do that, I'll point out here, sub-district, it says select a region first, so I'm going to do that. Now that I've selected a region, we have an extra drop down box here, and if I wanted to, I could select a sub-district within the region. So I've selected Chorley, I'm now going to select Chorley within that and see what happens to the number of entries that we have. Quite predictably, it's cut down the numbers, so instead of having 600 entries on the list, we've now only got 7. And as you can see, they all start with CHO. Book 1, Book 2, entry number or page number 90, page number 3, 62, and so on. So that's quite manageable, and if you wanted to, you could look through those and select a few entries from those to order. However, if we go back once more, all the searches I've done so far have not made use of this order option, and they've just left to the standard setting of alphabetically. If I change this to order by reference number, it still says 1838, Chorley, and the Chorley sub-district, but I've changed it to by reference number. Let's see what happens here. We have the same 7 entries that we saw previously, but they're now ordered by the reference number. So all the book 1 entries come first, followed by book 2, and the final 2 of entries here are the ones I want to highlight for this particular example. Both of them surname of Smith, both of them boys, James and William, mother's maiden name of Spencer in both cases, and both of them have 3 at the end, which means they're both on page 3. We've got a pair of twins here. So just by starting with a wide search and then making use of the regions, changing the order, possibly choosing a sub-district, I've gone from a very large number of Smiths down to a nice manageable selection of results, and by understanding how the reference numbers worked, we've also been able to identify what I think quite definitely are a pair of twins. And again, as we saw earlier, I could click on the reference number and add it to the summary page. We'll talk more about the summary page in a future example, but basically the whole aim of looking through these indexes is to find entries that you would like to buy copy certificates for. So the instructions at the top of this page are all about how to order. Either click on the reference number or you can order online. So let's have a look at those 2 ideas. So for this first entry with the registers at Bury, if I click on the reference number here, we've got an application form already filled in with the reference number on the top right, filled in with the name, surname and a year, and it has the address where you should send this application form to. As I mentioned earlier, each register office only has their own data, so you must send the applications to the right register office. If you were to print this out, fill in your name and address at the top, fill in the payment details at the bottom, send this off to the right register office, back would come a copy of the original certificate. Alternatively, if I click back to go back to the summary page, some of the register offices now offer online ordering. So for Bury, Wigan, Preston and so on, I have the option here of clicking on online ordering. Say I wanted those two. I could then start the online order process, and on the next page it will steer me through ordering online. Now, as before, we're ordering from two separate register offices. The ones at the top here with the yellow background, they have an ordering system which is directly linked into the Lancashire BMD website. So if you were to click on this button, all the details, the reference number, the name, across, etc. would be passed across from the summary page to the Lancashire online ordering system. The ones with the blue background, we can link you through to the website page, but the details would not be passed across. You would have to make a note of the reference number and type that in along with the names at the appropriate place. We've done our best to streamline the ordering processes for you with two types of different links from the summary page through to the local BMD registrar office websites. Go back. So this completes the first tutorial on births. In the next birth tutorial I'll cover a different birth search example with the aim of highlighting some other useful points about the use of forenames and initials in searches. See you in the next tutorial.